Hi, Doug.
Hi. Again, I'm sorry I can't stay.
Well, I understand, you've got to take those appointments when you can get them.
Yeah, they are tougher, get tougher and tougher, don't they?
Yeah.
Have you been? I didn't get to say hi at church.
I've been well. I had all my kids in town over the just before the 4th of July, and that's
Wow.
an accomplishment because one group lives in Scotland, so it was
Oh,
really, really nice to have everybody together.
yeah. Wow, that's great.
Hi,
Sue,
everyone.
what are you doing here?
Hi, Sue.
Hi. Well, as I said, I might not be able to come, but I can come. But I'm eating a salad right now, so I'm going to take me off video so I can slop it up. Okay.
That's
And
okay.
I'll be back.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I often attend even when I'm not on the board.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi,
Nancy.
Nancy.
Daniel?
Hi, Nancy. Hi, Tom.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Howdy, everybody.
Justin. My apologies to everybody. As Cindy knows, I'm sitting in a doctor's office and have to leave in 10 minutes. Very difficult to get urology appointment. But I trust you will have a fine meeting without me.
Watch out or we'll appoint you to something.
I have just the appointment.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
Yeah, they're supposed to write a letter to the estate regulators of all the deceased persons from last year and ask them to cough up their pledge.
Whoa. Well, I could do that actually.
Well, it'll be discussed. It's nice to know that you'd be willing to participate.
Yeah, Jean and I were actually talking about that earlier today, and and kind of debating. Well, just how diplomatically or undiplomatically would one handle that?
Well, I think I've got a communication that I just sent off to everybody from Karen Dorn Steele, and we'll read it into the record and then we can discuss it. But she had a suggestion.
There's Two Dog Lynn.
Hi, are you coming to the board meeting?
How are you?
Okay, see you there.
Yes. Okay, bye. Yes. No, where are you going? Okay, I will send it over to him right now. He's in.
Just try and do that like you're.
Who are we missing here?
Hi, Luba.
I'm looking. Do we have everyone?
No. Dick.
No. Well, let's see. It's not quite 4 o'clock, but at 4 o'clock I can call him. I don't think he has a cell phone. Well, there's fire just a little south on Thorpe Road, just a little bit west and south of the town.
Do you keep an eye on that? Watch duty?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's only 0.1 acres. It's active.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Resources are on scene of 100-foot by 50-foot vegetation fire with forward progress stop. So that sounds good.
Which
Ah,
fire is that, Tom?
it's on Thorpe Road. That's the one with the two tunnels, off of 195.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Well, it just popped up on my watch duty.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, I will call Dick.
Okay.
I will cross off my audio.
I'll give him just a minute to give Dick a jingle and then we'll call to order.
don't forget the board meeting.
Gary?
So while we're waiting, I'm on the church account
Yes.
and I found out how to allow someone else to share their screen. So
Oh,
all you have to do is go down to the share button down below and get permission to share your screen. So if there's ever a time we know that we want to be able to show someone something from our computers, if I know in advance, I'll come in for sure on the church account. Otherwise, I'll just come in like all of you did.
Nancy, I'm not seeing that.
Down at the very bottom of your computer.
Yeah, I have audio, video, participants, chat, react. Oh, share. There it is. The big green one.
Yeah, the big green one. Yeah. I have a Mac also, and it's there. The big green.
Okay, good. Did you just leave a message, Tom?
Yeah,
Okay, all right. Well, we'll move ahead then. It is 4:02, and I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. I have one amendment to the agenda myself, and that is, I'm fumbling around here. So I have an item that is duplicated as 12.2 and 10.3. So we'll just do it one time. Any other amendments or changes to the agenda before we approve it?
where are you gonna, of the two places, I noticed that too, of the two places, which are you gonna keep 10.3?
We'll keep it as a report.
Okay,
And if there are no changes, do we have a motion to approve?
you could just declare it. If there's
Declared approved. And then the minutes. I felt like I was attaching a whole lot of stuff to your email that I sent. So you may have been kind of, muddling through all of that stuff, but I hope you had a chance to take a peek at the minutes. Any changes to those minutes? Looks like another approval. And for our next executive committee, could we get a volunteer for our floating trustee?
One of the things we need to do is to decide on the dates.
Uh-huh.
before we
And-
do that.
Yeah, let's see. I have that in my calendar as that would be the 20th. How does that sound?
That'd be the exec
Yeah,
Yep.
and the board meeting would be
the 27th, yeah, the following Wednesday.
okay, yeah.
And for that board meeting, Cindy's going to be gone. Todd will be joining us, so it'll be me and Todd and one of you, so I'd really like someone there. Doug? Thanks.
Doug. Actually, Nancy, it's the following month in September.
That
when
you're
I'll-
gone.
That I'll be gone. Yeah,
Never mind, but Doug will be with us.
good.
Okay.
Okay. Minister's update, Todd is unavailable, so we'll go past that one. The president's report and update, I'm not sure I have a lot to give you here. Nancy and Tom and I met on the 7th. Gosh, that seems like it was forever ago now. But just to talk about some transition issues, kind of what we have on our plate as far as pressing matters and all. And this was actually before we received information from Rebecca about our budget, which I think rises to the top. Other than that meeting, to kind of look ahead to what we have facing us this year. And I think I've added to our agenda the items that we discussed that we want to kind of deal with in our meeting. I don't think I have too much to report. Nancy, anything from that, or Tom, anything from that meeting that you want to chime in with?
Just a lot of kind of nuts and bolts about how to do an agenda and, you know, some of that stuff so that both Cindy and I are familiar with that, so.
Yeah.
Well, didn't we also, did we formally meet on the 16th also? I have down on my calendar that at least now, did we formally meet as the exec committee? Because I was the floating person.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
And
so we
that was,
met on the 7th for transition and met on the 16th exec committee.
yeah.
Okay,
All righty. Let's go to Luba with the ops team report.
Sorry. A very short report because Rebecca was on vacation. There was no meeting.
That was very, very short. And the secretary report, also from Luba?
I forwarded. I thought I forwarded something to Rebecca the day before yesterday, and she sent to me, "Oh no, I did not get the attachment."
Oh,
So I sent an attachment yesterday to her without adding anything because I didn't have to add anything at all. And I don't know how it's going to work further, whether she will respond or will ask me some questions and then I will respond to her, perhaps.
and that was our approved minutes from the
Yes, approved
meeting.
meetings, yes, yes.
Excellent. Yeah, generally when I was doing that, I didn't get any feedback from her. I just sent it off and she received it and it went smoothly.
Okay,
that was the approved minutes of June.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
no, May. May minutes.
May, okay,
Yes, May.
yeah,
May.
okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, May minutes. Okay, and let's see, oh, we aren't going to have Dick here, but we did have a treasurer's report that I attached,
Mhm.
and let's see, let me find it here. Do we have any, I don't know, is this the appropriate place to have discussion or comments on that report?
Well, I think somebody ought to summarize it since he's not here, if not read it into the record. Certainly, it probably should be attached. It's not really a treasurer's report, it's just a communication from Rebecca. So why don't we, my suggestion is that we put it under unfinished business when we can discuss it and if there's any action to be taken,
Okay,
related to anything that is raised at that point.
okay, that sounds
Any-
good.
Anybody else have another idea?
Well, if we move it to unfinished business, is that what you're suggesting, Tom?
Yeah, because we had discussed, the issue of the kind of the financial crisis. We've been discussing it for the last several meetings.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Okay. All right, will do. Nancy, a bit about what's going on with the social justice coordinating team, please.
So I sent out an email that has specific actions that Barb Stubing was saying would be good for the church to undertake. One being very simple, I think, and that's to ask the endowment team to put a filter on the companies that we are invested in to make sure none of them are affiliated with militarization, was her suggestion. And I think that would be something that the endowment team could do. And if you want, I can good Lord, contact Karen Doran Steele and ask if that team would take that on. Sue, are you on that team?
I am now one of the co-chairs with Mary Giannini. Karen and Dick have aged out. Well, not aged out, but are off.
Okay,
So if you would let me know, we have a meeting tomorrow. I don't know if we could get it on the agenda by then, but we have a meeting tomorrow.
okay, I will forward that to you.
Okay.
And then there was a book with a class about organizing that she recommended. And finally, we continue to put articles in the Sun every week about social justice issues. If you read the email, you will see that Maureen Aladich is contacting Karen Lindholm, I believe is her last name, about coming to speak at the church with regard to the, what was it, 8 or 9 folks that were detained by the marshals with regard to the protests down at the immigration office. And then ideas about what the church could do with regard to immigration. My comment to the committee was, I feel just, when I see this happening, I feel so helpless, and I think it would be helpful to have someone like Karen come and speak and let us know what we could do. So there's that issue.
Can I ask you, Nancy, did this email go out to everybody?
No, I just sent it out to the board as an FYI, but
Okay.
I could send it to you if you'd like that information.
Yeah, it sounds like some of it is what's contained in the Sun, of which I get from several sources now, but yeah, that would be fine. Thank you.
Okay, I'll send it out to you. Does anybody else want it? Betty, Jean, Lynn? Yes, Betty? Lynn, would you like it? No? Okay. It seemed to me there was one more issue, ouch, But I can't recall what I put on the email because my computer isn't printing to Dale's printer. Yes, Tom?
Yeah, number 5 on your thing was meeting with Cindy, Fine, Lynn, Janisha, Rebecca, and others to begin scheduling some of the fundraising ideas of the church calendar on Wednesday, July 30th. So you're just letting us know about that meeting. Is that the way I take it?
Because the next item on the agenda was income enhancement. And so I just wanted you all to know that that has been scheduled. And we'll take a look at the church year calendar and how we might fit in some of these ideas that have come up.
Great. Thank you, Nancy.
Mhm.
Um, okay, our fire safety for church grounds. We had kind of a late breaking email from Rebecca regarding that. And I don't know, did it go to all the members of the board or?
Nope.
I think it was just you and I as an FYI that the ops team is handling that.
Mhm, mhm. Um,
Was there any substantive information?
yeah, would you like me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, hang with me just a moment here. Okay. Oh, I guess it was, so it was this morning from Rebecca to Nancy and me. Regarding the Board of Trustees meeting agenda. The wildfire mitigation is not a board issue. It is for the operations team, and although Tom got me in touch with the fire department about the program, it is being handled by myself and will be reported on through the ops team as it progresses. We complete wildfire mitigation to our property every single year. We currently have our annual work scheduled to be done by our contractor. We pay someone to do it since most of our buildings and grounds volunteers who used to do a lot of this are too elderly to do that kind of difficult work. Basically, through the fire department and the DNR programs, nothing will be done until the spring at the earliest, as there is a long list for the program, which we are now on. They will do more of the tree removal on the outside of our fences and maybe some limb work inside that our contractor doesn't get to. And that is all.
Yeah, and just for clarification, it was never intended to be a board issue. I'm not sure why she made that reference. Just a little bit of background here at Rockwood, they did a substantial clearing, including a large clearing in adjacent Lincoln Park, and the big Nick from the fire department was here, and I asked him about property such as ours that's right across Government Way from that very heavily treed area, and he was very interested in seeing that we were safe and to let us know that there might be grant money available. So I gave him contacts to Rebecca. So it's nice the board is aware of it, but it was never intended to be a board issue.
Yeah. 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 It just seemed informational to me. And just, one other thing, one other strike against us is there's that train up above there. And I know it's not uncommon to have sparks from trains get fires started too. So it's just kind of a nervous thing.
Mm.
My
Any,
comment to her, just an FYI, was that we wanted it on the agenda just as an FYI to the board because there had been so many fires set over in that area just recently, so.
yeah. Any other team reports that didn't get on the calendar or anything to add to what we've heard? Okay, we'll go to unfinished business. Appointed trustee. This is as a treasurer. I think I could have worded that better. So we've talked several times about the need for someone who really has skills as a treasurer to be appointed to the board as a non-voting member. And I just wanted to basically call that to your attention again, keep it at the front of your mind. If you see someone at church that you can have a discussion with and maybe give them a nudge, or a friend of a friend at church that might be a good candidate, it's an important thing. And I'd like to encourage you to feel empowered to have those conversations.
Yeah, and just for clarification, we couldn't appoint a trustee as a treasurer until we have a bylaw change. But we could certainly, anytime that we could find someone interested in being the treasurer, that person can be appointed as the treasurer, and then at some point that we might want that person, and if they were willing to become a trustee as well as the treasurer, that would be something we could deal with as a future bylaw change. And whether it would be voting or non-voting would be something that congregation would have to decide, as a bylaw.
Okay.
Cindy, I did speak with someone at a recent Coeur d'Alene Park concert who would be very good. Unfortunately, at this time, they find themselves too busy, so you never know where you might be having those conversations. And I'm not gonna let go of this one.
When you said too busy, is that like busy for the rest of their life or for the next month?
Well, we're not exactly sure. I'll have another conversation in a month or so, but they are busy doing books for some other organization, so they are qualified, which would be nice. So
Yeah.
might have to bring some chocolates to church.
Chocolate never hurts. Maybe this is a good time to squeeze in our talk about the finances. Let's see here. Let me bring this up. And this, let's see, this came also, no,
The 17th,
17th, okay.
and if you want me to read it into the minutes, I could do that.
That
Summarize.
would be perfect. Thank you.
This is from Rebecca. What I can tell you is we came in $13,000 under budget on expenses, something to celebrate. However, we were also very under on projected revenues. We anticipated this with the $12,000 discrepancy in projected fundraising, but also had nearly $30,000 in unpaid pledges. I've never seen the number so high, but we also lost 9 actively pledging members who passed away last fiscal year, and a few others who entered into assisted living and were unable to complete their pledges. And I'm certain that this impacted the number. Hopefully we will receive something from their estates, but so far we have not. We did have an increase in unpledged donations this year, which helps, but at this point we are close to $26,000 in the red. This is far more than we projected and will greatly impact our budgetary shortfall reserve. Again, it will take a little bit longer for me to ensure the accuracy of the quarterly report, but as soon as I have it, I will get it to you.
Nancy, just to clarify one thing, is she talking about unpaid pledges for the 24-25 fiscal year that just finished up in June?
Yes,
Mhm.
I believe so.
That leaves us short. So what do you have a sense of what will be the consequence of that? Are we going to rob our next year's budget to pay things? Are we going to leave bad debts? What are we gonna do?
Well, we're $26,000 in the red. As of right this minute.
If we did have Dick, he might be able to say how that would be handled. Um, from a standpoint of just going on day to day, we're probably going to be able to keep on going day to day, but at some point, that 26,000 or portion thereof is going to catch up with us, and we're going to have to raid that very dwindling reserve fund, is what I understand from Dick, but he's talked about it in the past.
Mhm. Tom, do you know just offhand how much is in that reserves fund?
I don't. I don't. I don't know what anyone else does. Um, Kind of as an add-on to this, I reached out to Karen Dorn Steele, thinking she was still prominent on the endowment team, and asked whether the endowment team and Rebecca had done anything to pursue approaching the executives of any estates of these people, these 9 people who passed away. And um, Karen apparently talked with Sue and Mary Giannini, and I have an email back in which, a very short email with a suggestion. I don't know whether, Sue, did you want to jump in on that, or should I just read the essentially one paragraph?
I'd like you to read what she wrote because I don't know that I saw this.
Okay. Okay, she wrote, I can't attend today's board meeting. As you know, it hasn't been the endowment team's practice to contact the managers of deceased members' estates. In my opinion, the board, under policy governance, has the ultimate responsibility for church responsibilities and might want to designate a board member to take on the task in light of the current fiscal emergency. The board's top goal is to assure the financial stability of the church.
I saw that, yes.
Yeah. So,
I don't have anything to add. I have just started being co-chairs. We have our first meeting tomorrow. I will bring this topic up, but right now, all the discussion we had last year was pretty much not something that the endowment team would do.
okay, well, here are some thoughts. And the endowment teams, seems to me, is a little bit of an integral part of it. So she said there were 9 people who passed away. So there's 9 estates out there. We don't, the implication is that those were 9 pledging units. What's unknown is, of course, who those pledging units were, and then it's unknown whether any of those had any endowment legacy promises in their estate documents. So it seems to me that one of the thoughts could be that the board's going to have to decide is, yeah, it's a policy for us to be fiscally responsible, but within the concept of possibly approaching the executors of any of these states, possibly only the ones that had legacy involvement with the endowment team, how would we approach if we were to do that? So maybe we need some feedback that you might get from your meeting with the endowment team, whether they could identify of those 9, which ones had endowments, which that would be one approach, is to asking the executors, out of the endowment promise to the endowment fund, could you cover the unpaid pledge? And then there'd be another group that didn't have an endowment legacy, of approaching their executors, and saying, is there something way, as we talked a little bit with Doug at the beginning of the meeting, to approach them either by letter or in person to see if they had any thoughts that they could cover an unpaid pledge from last year. That's what I have kind of running around in my mind.
I think people could be approached. I think the heirs, the executors of estates could be approached in a very kind and gentle way that would not offend, because they may be unaware, you know, of a pledge, and they may want to do this when they become aware of it. So
Is that something that can be directed through the office manager by the board to, or are you thinking of more of a personal approach or a letter saying we have an outstanding pledge, however it's worded?
I think my preference would be a letter. It gives people some time to process it without being put on the spot. And I think it needs to be carefully crafted and individual to the person, you know. I think, you know, we could have sort of a standard appeal, but it needs to be tailored to the individual, and we need to be aware of kind of what their pledging history with the church is and any extenuating circumstances that would affect that.
So just for clarity to me, Tom, as what I would talk about at the meeting tomorrow, you would like the endowment team to explore the idea of doing this?
Well,
Or,
it's, we keep kicking the can around the room.
yeah,
And, Karen is suggesting this is a policy issue and the board should do it. On the other hand, policy governance is kind of saying we would make a policy that we'd like to do it and then try to find an existing team or entity to do it. There doesn't appear to be any, so then the board would possibly have to decide, well, are we going to do it ourselves? And the idea or suggestion would be if we knew with information from the endowment team, which of those 9 deceased persons had a legacy, that would help us sort out the 2 categories. And then would the board want, and we don't have to decide tonight, this is going to be an ongoing discussion, then would the board want to get a couple members together and compose a letter generally suitable for the one category of legacy people and the other category of non-legacy people, if there are 2 categories, I suspect there are. And then, as you suggested, Cindy, we would have a basic message, and I think it would be better coming from the board, possibly a letter signed by all the board members rather than an administrator. So certainly we're going to need Rebecca's help in identifying who, along with the endowment team, if they're the only ones that know who's got a legacy. But part of it would be, Sue, to the endowment team is, can they identify of the 9 folks that apparently passed away, who had a legacy, in other words, who's in our legacy society that we know of?
so you're more interested in the legacy part than if a pledge was fulfilled?
Well, if she implied that the 9 people were pledgers, and because they passed away, their pledge wasn't fulfilled. That's what I assumed from it. So we're after trying to get the unpaid, unfulfilled pledge. And in one case, if they made a legacy statement, then it's reasonable to say, would you consider giving a portion of that as the unpaid pledge and then less to the legacy society or something like that? We'd have to sort it out. And
Yeah.
that's partially where Mary Giannini, with her background in a nonprofit and law, would be helpful, and maybe not.
Yes, and Mary would have been here, but she
Yeah.
couldn't.
Yeah, I understand. And maybe not as an endowment team member, but as a lawyer frequently advising the board.
Well, just somewhere down the line, after this gets sorted out, right now, if a family were to give the church a check, just say to you church, doesn't designate anywhere, it goes to the endowment team per bylaws, correct?
Not entirely so. There's something about $1,000 kind of a bracket in there. If it's above amount, a certain amount or something like that.
Okay.
I could call up the bylaw and read it, but that's more
Yeah.
minutia than we probably need to go into at this point.
Yeah, but what I'm just going to say for future, maybe rewording of that. Rather than we throw everything into the endowment. With changes that are going on within our church needs to be looked at sometime.
Well, everything doesn't go into the endowment. It's quite complex. I'm scanning it right now. I still am reluctant to get into it, but it's not as,
Yeah, no,
not as
just-
simple as you just stated.
yeah, no, you don't need to. Okay, I don't have a real good understanding of it then.
I will send that portion, I will send that to you so that you and the endowment team can look at that, and maybe that'll help you zero in on what the board can do and what information we might get from the endowment team that would be helpful in this whole endeavor.
And I'll bring it up at the meeting.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay,
If
good.
if in any way they want to help, the team wants to help, is that what the main question is with this?
Well, yeah, if they step forward, but if they're the only ones that know who has made a legacy, maybe Rebecca has that and she could.
Rebecca, we get that information, I believe, from Rebecca. Every month Dan reports what kind of donations we've gotten
No,
and
no,
things
that's
like
not
that.
that's not what I'm talking about. How about the people who are alive like me,
Yes,
who
and I
made,
know legacies, something, are you talking about wills?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So does Rebecca have that? That
I
would be,
don't know. I know Donna did. Hopefully, it came, I believe Donna would have had that, so hopefully, Dan has that now. I'll get back to you on it.
yeah, I think that's part of the information we need, no matter who's going to do it.
Nancy, I think you were next.
Actually, I'm gonna yield to Lynn because she had her hand up first, even though
Oh.
she's visiting, quote unquote. So Lynn, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Nancy. I was just going to say, I think it would be really beneficial if the entire congregation understood what's going on here. I have a hard time believing that we have $30,000 in unpaid pledges from 9 people who have died. And so I think we could, or you could very easily and gently, I don't think you need lawyers involved at all. I think you could craft something beautifully. You could plug in some nice language to AI and say, could you help us write a letter to our congregation to let everyone know we have $30,000 in unpaid pledges. And you could look and see how many dollars that means because people passed away, but that's kind of beside the point. Most people, if they did leave something to the church, that automatically does go to the endowment. And families aren't thinking about whether or not somebody has an unpaid pledge or not. They would also, though, likely, those families would likely receive the mail of a deceased person who has recently passed away, and they might read that and see, and it might spur somebody to just think, oh, I wonder if my loved one had an unpaid pledge. But I think the entire congregation needs to understand that we are at this level of shortfall. We must get into our shortfall reserve to cover that. And if you have perhaps just not thought about it for a little while, could you check and see if your pledges are up to date? That's information all of us need.
And
Thanks,
Lynn,
Nancy. Yeah.
would you favor that communication as a postal mail letter to everyone?
I think you'd probably get more people to pay attention. I think that's something because it would be different, right? I mean, email,
Yeah,
doesn't everybody loathe it?
right.
But yeah, I think even a postcard, well, postcard would be a little
Yeah.
bit not so great, but a letter, yeah, I think that's this is pretty urgent, and it could be lovely, very well written, and AI is so great at using beautiful words. Just you can write in all the awfulness about, darn it, we're scared, we need some help. Can you might write us a letter that says something beautiful, and it will spit something out, and then you stuff it in envelopes and send it out to everybody. But I believe honestly that the entire church needs to understand that's significant. $30,000 in unpaid pledges.
Yeah.
We're all we all need to be responsible for that,
I
not
think
just people who
that's
or
good.
families who are dealing with a death.
Right.
Oh,
I like this suggestion, and my question to Lynn maybe, when you mean the entire church, do you mean that the letter should be sent to not only to members of the church, but also the friends of the church?
Well, I think it should be sent to e- everybody who's pledging, certainly, every pledging member.
Every
But I
member.
mean, we're always looking to try to get people to pledge money or to give money. So it could be sent to everybody who's on our mailing list.
Mhm.
I,
And
um,
I don't think it needs to ask for money. I think it needs to just be very clear about
Yeah,
what
informative,
where we are,
Right.
informative and kind. And
yes.
could you check and see if you're up to date, please?
Mhm.
So that's about what I was going to say as well, and except to add to that, that I wish I had called Rebecca this morning to find out after I informed the congregation about how much we were short, even before, I think, the annual meeting, how much money came in from that plea from the pulpit. And I did exactly what you said. I used AI. I gave them the circumstances, and that's where my letter or my speech came from. I had asked Rebecca and Michelle to send it out to everybody, but I didn't ever see it, so it didn't go out to everybody. But it might even be worth a call from the pulpit and a letter. I don't know.
Yeah, your words were beautiful. I mean, I was sitting right here on this deck listening to that from up here, and it was lovely. And it did make a difference. To have just maybe even that speech tweaked to be in letter format. But with these kinds of numbers, people need to be informed of those specific numbers, because you didn't talk too much about the specific numbers, and this is new information from what you shared from the pulpit. But the wording was lovely and very meaningful, and I think it did make a difference. So if that came out in a letter, I mean, it would certainly get my attention if I got something in the mail from the Unitarian Church of Spokane, because I don't usually get something like that.
Yeah, it
So,
would be more impactful because people haven't had any letters from the UU Church.
yep, and I think the board, everybody on the board should sign that, or certainly the president should sign that. But I think this is, if this isn't board business, nothing is, right? This is board business.
Yes.
I believe it is board business. I do not believe this is endowment stuff. I
Mhm.
believe the endowment is something, these are unpaid pledges. So that's operating funds.
And Sue, can you remind me again, when will you be meeting with the endowment group next?
Tomorrow,
Oh, well, that's
I know. Yeah, tomorrow at 4. Yeah,
But I agree with Lynn. This is more than just going to people with endowments. This has to go to everybody.
Yes.
I do too. I think that's good.
I see Dick's, I see Justin's hand there.
Yeah, just to do some simple arithmetic, 30,000 sounds like this awful number and backbreaking in scope. I'd like to point out if we had 300 members, I'm not sure what the membership is, if everybody could scrape up $100, 300 times 100 is 30,000. So if you say, you know, you need to cough out thousands, everybody's reluctant, but if say, you know, a pledge of an extra $100 would do it if we had 300 members.
We don't. I wonder if we even know how many people have left and has stopped going to church and they were pledging members.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that they're trying to break it down to a number which, I don't want
We
to
do
pick
have
everyone, but
we do have
$100.
pledging friends too, though. Lots of
Pardon me?
friends who are
Okay.
pledging. Yeah, absolutely. They're not members, but they are pledging.
They're pledging.
I would like to schedule a meeting with Rebecca to get clearer information on all that you have brought up. You know, how many pledging units do we have? How many are members versus friends? How many, if Sue will get the information about how many of the members that we've lost were legacy members. We need to do a little information gathering, and then we need to chart a path forward in addressing this. I think I love the idea of both a call from the pulpit and a letter, individual letter. Maybe we can, yes, Tom.
Well, Lynn has raised a good point about the overall approach. But I still think there's room for a possible approach to the folks who passed away. And I also want to point out that when you read Rebecca's letter, it was 9 deceased persons and other persons who went into assisted living and can't fulfill their pledges. So it's more than just, in other words, the $30,000 isn't just the people who were deceased, but
Yes.
I think some combination of both thoughts, but overall, to the members and friends, raising the issue again of the dire circumstance, that's certainly really, really profound and very, 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 very doable. We just need to get the mechanics of how to make it work.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to meet with Rebecca as soon as next week, if that works in her schedule. Would anyone like to join me to do some information gathering?
I can join, oh, Nancy, yeah.
Well, Luba, you could be there. It's not like it could only be 2 people.
Okay,
Yeah, 3 is okay. If you get more than 3, then you got a majority of the board, and that's not good, but 3 can do it.
okay. All right, I will reach out to Rebecca and see what she can do with her schedule to have a meeting with us this next week. Thank you. Anything else on budget matters before we move along? Okay. And then let's go to the edited annual report. Sue was kind enough to reach out to Rebecca and delve into that. Sue, can you give us a thumbnail of what you found? Oh,
Sue, you are.
Sue, you're
audio.
muted. Sue, you're muted.
I had to shrink it to go onto my screen, so.
Okay.
Okay, well, I had the meeting last week as soon as Rebecca got back from her holiday. And she right off, well, I think she, from what she said, she reviews or listens to all of our meetings, so she might add a heads up even with, as to why I was coming. But she said that she edits everything for clarity and brevity, and that there were some others that she had to, but in particular, this Tom's submission for the board report was too long, so she shortened it a lot because of that. And I said, well, could we have guidelines for the next time so we don't run into problems? And she said, well, they're online. And I meant to ask her where, and we just kept talking and it didn't get brought up, but she said they're online, and she had spoken to Tom and answered some of his questions. And she did say she made the change about the death with dignity person, that he never, or he or they was never signed the book or a member or don't gave money or anything. So she changed that from, I think it was said former member. And then she did, we talked about a few other things, but these were the highlights, really. That she has to keep a maximum to 2 pages for a report. Does anybody have any questions about what I wrote?
No, I read it and that was understandable.
And it did say, she gave me a copy of the complete packet of reports, and it said right on the front that statement, some reports have been edited for brevity and clarity. I didn't go into anything about, it would have been nice to let the board know or anything like that. I just didn't feel it was the opportunity to do that.
Tom,
Yes, Tom.
Okay, I feel the need to respond to what she did because a lot of it involves me, so I want to read into the record. And I've sent this written copy to all the board members as if I were in the board meeting together, and I handed it out, passed it around. So, first of all, I want to thank Sue for interviewing the operations manager and preparing her written report. And second, then in my written document, I duplicated what the report was. And third, here is my response to the interview notes. According to the above summary, the operations manager stated several comments, mostly related to me. These comments cannot go without a response from me. To not respond translates to my agreeing with what was written in the report and acceptance. One, it stated that the editing was for clarity and brevity. The editing of the submitted board's report was severe in several respects, as evidenced by the addition and deletion version that I shared with the board and is attached to the June minutes. Additionally, there was no notice to the board that its report was edited. The severe editing was only discovered after the annual meeting. There are numerous instances wherein the editing does not reflect what occurred during the various board meetings. The examples are too numerous to list here, but are clarified in the addition and deletion version of that report. Number two, it stated that the report needed to be 2 pages. That was never conveyed to me during several conversations. The comment is made that there are instructions online as to how to prepare a report. That is absolutely not the case with regard to our having discussed this. We never discussed that, or I would never have prepared a 4+ page report. It would have been 2 pages or less. As far as the online instructions, I spent an hour going through every topic on the website, every pull-down menu on the website, and I found no such instructions. If the instructions are there, they're well hidden. If they existed in April when this was being prepared, a simple reference to them by the operations manager would have resolved the size issue, but not the severe content editing that occurred. 3, it stated the operations manager does not think the board needs to approve the report before it's submitted. There's absolutely no basis or precedent for that thinking. The bylaws, Article 4, Section 1E state the annual meeting attendees will, quote, receive an annual report from the board, unquote. I looked at several annual reports, and the reports are all entitled, quote, Annual Board of Trustees Report, similar to this year's. And I have the titles from this year's screenshot pasted in here. I reviewed the minutes of every board meeting and provided the trustees with a rough draft summary of the major topics and the actions, but that they still needed some editing and spell checking, and asked for comments. I received several comments and made changes and submitted the board's report to the operations manager on May 11th. It would be irresponsible and a violation of my personal ethics to have submitted a Board of Trustees report that had not been reviewed by the trustees with the invitation to change the content. And the report is not identified as the president's report, it's identified as the board's report. And finally, the operations manager reported that I was late in submitting the report because of awaiting the board approval. Again, I can't find any notice or communication of an absolute deadline for a submission. I submit that there was adequate time for the operations manager to have notified me that the report was too long and needed to be 2 pages. There was 7 office business days and 11 calendar days for this to have occurred. I could have easily modified the size, thus eliminating any need for the operations manager to edit the content. My recommendation for future presidents: thoroughly discuss with the operations manager the deadline for submission, the size, word limit, or whatever it is, during the months of February and March, so a report can be drafted and a final version approved by the board in its April meeting for submission by whatever date is decided upon. This fiasco and possibly past undetected similar situations could easily have been avoided. Signed, Tom Mosier, past president. And that you all have that, and I want it attached to the minutes.
Very good. Very good. I appreciate both of you delving into this and addressing it. And I'm going to put a couple of reminders on my calendar to hopefully avoid something similar next go round. And I will be sure and forward this to Marilyn. Unfinished business. Did we move something down there, or was that incorporating our treasurer's report?
That was the discussion that we had about how to approach this large deficit we have.
Okay. Okay. Okay, new business then, unless there's anything else to talk about with unfinished. We'll go to new business. Board retreat date. I did get from, I think it was from Doug, some dates when he was available. Do we want to look at possible dates at this point, or I guess we should maybe wait for Todd?
Yeah.
Not quite sure about that.
Well,
Wait for Todd?
Well, it's been, Lynn, you can help out here. It's typically been the first or second Saturday after the Labor Day weekend. And I think all of us maybe should just put a block out some time. It's usually in the morning around 9:30 or 10 o'clock and lasts kind of potluck lunch until 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I think we should block those out, and then you should reach out, or somebody should reach out to Todd and see what goes there, and then you should let us know so we can finalize our calendars.
We have a tentative coffee coming up. He's gonna give me a call after he has a look at his calendar. But if we were to do it on a Saturday, we'd be looking at the 6th, 13th, one of those, and then I'm gonna be gone the following one. So,
Cindy,
Nancy,
just a suggestion, since we're all retired on the board, is there a possibility we could do it during the week? Say 11 to 3
mhm,
and, or 10 to 2?
Yeah.
mhm.
Yep.
Saturdays seem to be, well, I have a LGBTQ potluck that day, on the 14th. But because of that, week time, okay?
Week time works for me. Show of hands, if sometime midweek works for you? Yeah. All right. Okay.
That gives us a lot more options.
I think so too.
Mhm.
But, I'm looking at my calendar and I'm trying to figure out, when is Labor Day? Is it, oh, it is the 1st of September. Wow, that's unusual. That only happens once every 7 years.
Mm.
Yeah.
So Cindy, would you suggest that idea to Todd and see how he feels?
I will.
Great.
Our 20, so I'm skipping over the duplicate fire safety.
Yeah.
And on to 2025, 26 priorities. Reviewing and renewing the ministerial agreement. Lynn and I spoke just briefly at church, and she assured me that it's pretty cut and dried, shouldn't take too long, that we can have a subcommittee kind of get that going and then bring it back to the full committee. Am I correct in that, Lynn?
Well, yeah, sure. That's the way we did it when we redid it, when we were redoing all of the bylaws. There were, I think, 3 of us. And you can talk to Todd about that when you have coffee with him and see how and when and what will work best for him, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, I think there were 2 or 3 of us that met with him, and boom, boom, boom. It's pretty quick. Although there may be some changes related to whatever he might be thinking, if he's wanting to make some changes. But from the board perspective, it's pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
Well, there's a really big elephant in the room, and this wasn't an issue when you did that last time, Lynn, and that's his compensation for his time. I don't see any way that he's going to ever be compensated at the appropriate amount for a full-time UU minister, and so he may have a very simple way of dealing with it, and it may be a no-brainer. But I see that as being a big issue that is different than you all had to deal with last time.
But his compensation, his actual numbers is not in his ministerial agreement. That's not in there. So the actual numbers are something, and the actual, like, what's he willing to do or not do,
Yeah,
able to do.
Yeah.
That would be something.
yeah. If he's getting paid less, it would stand to reason, at least in my mind, that he should be responsible for less.
Correct.
So, yeah,
Okay.
okay. Yeah,
On
I
my
like
coffee
your
list.
idea. I like your idea of talking with him and see what his suggestions are. But you might bring that topic up about prescribed work, considering that we just don't have the ability to to pay him what he's worth,
Mhm.
put it bluntly.
Okay. On my list. And of course, we have the kind of a group of items together, review the end statements, visioning process, and 5-year strategic plan update. I'm kind of 2 minds on this. On one hand, the finances are very, very pressing, and it kind of clears everything out that's on our list. But on the other hand, maybe this is something that would inspire our membership and lead to greater commitment to the church. People might feel more invested. I
With the
don't know.
visioning process, Cindy, is that what you're referring to?
I don't know. Thoughts on this? Is it something we want to move ahead with at this point? Is it something that can wait a little longer?
Well, here's the thoughts that I have is that the 5-year strategic plan is the most, probably the most important and maybe the most prescriptive, and it's way out of date. But you could also then put in with that the end statements, which is supposed to be done periodically, but is not prescribed, and it's supposed to have some input from the congregation, but that's not really clearly prescribed either. So maybe in the strategic plan, if that were at the top of the list and the others were subcategories of end statements, review changes and a visioning process could be easily related to the end statement and very possibly, as you suggest, a more enthusiasm, renewed enthusiasm about the mission of the church.
Mhm.
But we have to start that process because it's, start thinking about it and start laying out a plan.
Mhm. And with the strategic plan, do you see member involvement in that, or is that strictly the board?
A good person to talk with about this is Dan Egret, because he was instrumental in the past. Not that he has time enough to get overly involved, but he would certainly be consulted. In the past, my understanding is it did involve parts of it and did involve the congregation. And we have it in our blue folder that we got from Rebecca. The strategic plan is in there. And by the way, also the ministerial agreement is in there.
Mhm.
And maybe we should all review that as an assignment before we get together for the next time around and try to come up with some ideas after we've all looked at the strategic plan.
I like that. Other thoughts?
Well, that's
That's
something too that would be discussed at the board retreat, right?
Yes.
Could be, and would be a very good item where we could have a big go around and spend an hour on it if we wanted to, whereas it's hard to do that in
Right.
our board meetings.
So I'd like to recommend that we put that on our agenda for that retreat.
Sounds very good.
With us doing the homework of looking at it beforehand.
Yes, should all delve into that. Um, not to be forgotten, income, how could we forget? Zoom capabilities. So this is the limits that we have without having fiber optic and the costs that would be associated with doing that, and how it makes it difficult for people to fully participate.
Question,
Mm-hmm.
is that really board business? Because there's nothing we can do about it as a board except to encourage, well, we can't financially do it because that is very costly to bring in fiber optics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we think it's fiber optics a problem, but the way I see it as kind of a board problem is it's been Todd's hope, and we've accomplished it to a relatively great degree, that we encourage and embrace a remote community. And it seems to me that that is kind of board policy. Do we back away from that? Or do we as a church embrace it and try to figure out whether there's another way to get around it by asking people to know? And Rebecca, I think, has spent an enormous amount of time trying to get into this. And if it's strictly a matter of money, like you mentioned fiber optic cable, which happens to be extended from God knows where, then it probably is too expensive, and we're just going to have to figure out Terry Anderson and Dick Burkhardt and the others who do it, how to figure out how to make the best of it with what we've got. But as a board, it seems to me we should be doing everything we can to encourage our remote community.
Yeah.
That's a policy, what it is.
My understanding is that, I don't know, Tom, if you suggested this to them, that they stream the service and then they do a Zoom gathering to discuss it. And anyone would be invited to that discussion. Am I correct in that?
That's what Terry Anderson said that they have been trying to do when the system kind of breaks down. Somebody said it kind of breaks down. Dick Burkhart might have said it breaks down when the choir is performing but if they were streaming, they could get the advantage of the choir. But if they're trying to Zoom during that first meeting, sometimes the system just fails.
I know when I was in the working world, we would have some challenges with doing Zoom meetings, and shutting off the video seemed to help. Is that just like a Band-Aid on an amputation?
And no, that might be Justin's turf.
Do you know anything?
I'll jump in here for a second. There's about 1 chance in 1,000 that the problem is nothing more than incorrect packet size. But I don't want to start preaching that because I'm long out of the computer business, and this is by no means a guaranteed fix. I'd like to talk to someone more up to date on networking and packet sizes than I am, but sometimes you just can't squeeze, you can squeeze 1,000 9-inch tubes down a 9-inch hole, but you can't squeeze one 10-inch tube down a 9-inch hole. So there's a slim chance it's, is Todd Milne, is he a computer expert?
I don't know his background.
Is there someone in the church? No doubt there's somebody in our congregation that is. I need to talk to Rebecca to make sure before I start launching onto these magical cures, I got to make sure that I understand that it's an inadequate bandwidth size. Then I got to talk to somebody else to make sure that packet size has some bearing on it.
It's much more related to bandwidth than it is packet size because there aren't very many attendees via Zoom. But we haven't been using Zoom at the first service for a couple of months, if not more. It's been a while now. So almost everybody is, no one's attending the service during Zoom. If they're coming in afterwards, they're doing it. There's a group of people going online after they have streamed the service to chat.
I'll put out a request to all of you that if there is somebody who's more up on, I've been out of the computer business for years, and every once in a while I actually manage to fix something, but it's kind of a random process.
In regard to what you just said, Lynn, what Terry did say is a few months before, as you said, things have not worked well for the last few months, but before that, we'd look at their screen, there'd be 8, 10, 9 people up there. And then when he said that they had to start streaming and then joining together afterward, he said only 3, 4, 5 people would join together afterwards. So they lost that when they weren't stream and stay together. And so that, I don't know whether that defines the problem very well or not, but it's a problem. If we're going to rely and hope to get a remote community and keep it, we got to figure out how to do it better.
Yeah, the other thing I heard that the people who were Zooming were wondering if it was possible for the members of our church be Zooming with them too if they had questions. But I wonder did you try, Tom, to join them on Zoom?
Me? No, I've never
Did
had
anybody try ever?
No.
Well, I have attended several times via Zoom. Are you talking about while I'm sitting in the church?
Yes.
No, that's actually a big problem.
Oh, it is impossible.
It's not an impossible thing, but it pulls the bandwidth. It's a bandwidth issue. It makes the bandwidth that is within the church. If everybody's on their cell phones taking bandwidth, it causes more of a problem. So
interesting.
Okay, but if, for example, I'm not streaming, but I can join the Zoom with them, right? with those people who are outside Spokane area.
You mean from your home?
Yes,
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
From home,
yeah, from home.
for sure.
I'm just wondering, is there a?
If you, yeah, after this, I'm sorry, go ahead, Justin.
Is there an available computer in the church? I take it that they're, first of all, let me clarify, they're meeting after the second service on Zoom. Am I correct on that?
No, I believe after the first.
After the first, okay. Scratch. I have no other comment.
Okay.
Well, you just said something, Lynn. You know, I'm the wandering usher in the back, helping wherever I can. And I see from the back, I see an awful lot of people messing with their phones during the service. Now, so they're using our bandwidth probably? Or would they just be using their own hotspot?
Oh. Really? Hmm.
Well, it depends on what they're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, if they are, well, they're not likely Zooming, they're probably just texting or
Yeah, yeah.
doing whatever people, but, y- I doubt very much they are using their own hotspot. I don't know very many, I mean, they're probably using cell service, and then if they are connecting somehow, but yes, that would pull on our bandwidth for sure.
Well, they would need our password to get into our bandwidth, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
Correct.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is beyond my scope too of understanding all of that stuff. But I know that it would definitely not be a good idea for people in the church to try to be on Zoom.
Yeah.
And attending the service at the same time.
Yeah.
Mhm,
And there wouldn't
mhm.
be any need to, that I could imagine.
I'll tell you who may be able to shed some light on this is Shelley. Shelley has a degree in computer science, and it's when I was working on the security camera, Shelley solved several problems for me.
Hmm.
She's also familiar with the job that Todd does back there, and is familiar with all that stuff there. Shelley might be able to a conversation with Shelley, who, and I have to go, Shelley, what was the password again? I forgot. Yeah. I've asked Shelley several times for technical information, and she's been able to deliver it.
Mhm.
I think I should talk. Maybe I will make it a point to talk to Shelley to see what I can learn about this. Shelley and I can knock our heads together, but I have great confidence in Shelley, at least to get me to the first level of understanding.
Well, it sure isn't something the board, it's not board policy issue other than the fact that we
Okay, well, I'll take it on as not a board issue. I will take it my personal mission to talk to Shelley to see if I can get a grasp on this one problem. Not board related. This is me and Shelley.
And
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
find interesting is that it seems that the service itself is not an issue. It's when the music piece comes in. So is that speakers? And this is right. This is not board business, but
Okay.
that's interesting.
Okay, so I'm also going to make note that when the music comes on, I suspect that
This is very funny because Lynn, do you remember what happened?
I do, Luba,
Yesterday?
and that is very likely the issue that is exactly what's going on. That Zoom now filters out background noise very, very well, and so it considers that music anything other than a human voice speaking into a microphone as background noise. And
Thank
so
you,
I don't know
Lynn.
if you just heard somebody, I just got busted. I'm using my neighbor's Wi-Fi right now at the lake, and he just arrived at his cabin. So I don't think you probably heard that at all. And my
No.
dog just ran up and is barking, and you probably didn't hear that
No,
because
we didn't.
Zoom is
No.
filtering that all out. And
Yeah.
that is
Lynn, I
very
heard that
much,
very clearly, and I think you just shed some light on the problem.
Yeah, this is the filtering.
it happened last night at Kurdkara.
Yeah.
So Todd
that
was trying to
fun.
play his guitar, and he was right up against the microphone, and it filtered it out. We couldn't hear any of that.
Mhm.
Okay, I just think you just provided a partial answer.
Good.
Very good.
Mhm.
We're beat up by technology.
Mhm.
Again,
Advances.
Advances, yes.
Okay, we've had lots of conversation about the board's annual report and our need for a treasurer. So I'll just slip right over that. And here we are at member input at 5:19. Anything?
They disappeared except for Lynn.
Yep. All right, folks, if there's nothing else going
Oh,
once,
just
going
a
twice.
quick FYI, I'm signing the church up for a table at Garland Pride. I know that when Peggy was at the booth, there was a lot of activity with people interested in weddings at the church and that kind of thing. So this will just be another opportunity to get our name out there.
Well, are you
Just an
gonna,
FYI.
are you gonna ask for people to help with the pride table at?
Well, actually not, because we're only going to need to be there for 3 hours.
Oh.
But Tom, if you want to be there, that would be great.
Send me some info. If I can, I'd like to.
Okay. Yeah, it's only from 4 until I talked to Matt, and we're gonna only stay until 7 because mostly what they're gonna be doing down there is drinking. Again, just an FYI.
All right, folks, thank you very much. We have our work cut out for us.
thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.